Thanks for joining this learning session, specifically aimed at the HomeBuilder customer. Actually, you don't need to be a HomeBuilder customer to use this functionality. You can be a regular Business Central user, but I'm going to show using the HomeBuilder system. What we're trying to achieve here is two things. The first one is turning on a bank rec import, and the second one is to turn on some artificial intelligence using Copilot, which is the embedded AI tool within Business Central. And you don't have to turn on the artificial intelligence part of this. You can just do the imports, the bank rec import file. And I'm going to do both in this scenario. In addition to that, at the end of this demo, I'm going to show a very, very simple bank rec to show you how it works. Let's get into the artificial intelligence options. You must be running BC23 to be able to use this. If you don't know what you're running, go to Help and Support, and you will see the Business Central version down here. Once you've established that you are running Business Central 23, then we have to turn on three things. The first thing we're going to turn on is Copilot. So there are a number of searches for this, but I'm just going to type in Copilot, and you'll see Copilot and AI capabilities. I open this up, and you will see on here that I have already turned on Allow Data Movement, but if you haven't turned it on, you will need to turn this on. In addition to that, you will see that the bank account reconciliation is currently active. If it isn't, you must activate it. That's the first two things. So I'm going to close this page down. The system will probably tell you if you have not turned on, actually it's the feature which the system will tell you need to relog on. The third thing is feature management. When I go into feature management, there are a series of features that you can turn on and off in the system. The only one we're interested in today is the bank rec feature with Copilot. In here, you will see that I've enabled this for all users, and you must do that in order for this to be successful. And you will see a little message at the top here if you've enabled it for the first time that you have to sign out and sign back in to enable features. So that's the Copilot part, that's the artificial intelligence part of it. And now for the part which you have multiple options in the system about importing to a bank rec. From our perspective, we're not turning on the fully automated system. There are a few of them. There's one product called Yodlee. There are other ones out there on AppSource. What we're doing here is a semi-manual process. And the idea is that we would log into our bank and export a CSV file within a date range. Most banks can do this, and they spit out a file for you, giving you your transactions. If you do this, then what we can do is we can create a fairly simple import into the system. And what Business Central has done is it's created a tool to allow the mapping of this. In order to do that, if you don't have to follow these instructions, but these instructions work quite well. So I'm going to start in what's called the assisted setup page. If you look down here, I'm going to assisted setup. And from this one, it's down in the Get Ready for Business section. It's called Set up a bank statement file for import format. And so there are multiple options to approach this problem. You can do direct. There are subscriptions you can pay for. All I'm doing is I'm saying, look, I created a CSV file out of my bank, and now I want to be able to import that using a simple format tool. When I created this CSV file, it actually came to me in about 5 columns, and I can show you that. If I open up this page here, just going to drag it over to the screen, you can see this is the raw CSV file in a text editor. I got 5 columns here, and this is basically what I did. These are fake transactions, but it's just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to close that down, and you should be looking for something similar coming out of your bank. Now, what I'm going to do is I get into this file setup. I just clicked on this setup file import format. I click on next, and it is much simpler to upload the bank statement file that you downloaded or a sample of it. You can define it for yourself, but it's more work. This really is the good option. So I'm going to click into here, drag it in or browse. I'm going to drag it in. This is the one that I was just looking at. I'm going to open it, and the system tells me that it uploaded successfully. So I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to let the system do this for me. I click on next, and you can see that this is the representation of that original text file that I showed you. It had a header, it had these lines. And the first question is, how many header lines do I skip? I'm happy with the answer. It says 1. This is the one it's highlighted. Going to move on. No changes. Second thing, it said to me, what's your comma separator? I can clearly see these are commas. It's clearly found there are 5 columns, and it's given me this as a suggestion for the line separator. I'm just going to accept what the system gave me as recommendations. And then it comes into here. It says, OK, I found a date column. Great. I found an amount column. Nice. Description column I didn't find. I know for a fact that on column 4, I got some codes that make sense to me, and I'd like to see them as my description. So I'm just going to type that in and select it. I click on next. This one here, it's given me a date format, which makes sense, and I can see month, day, year, and that's what it's laid out as. The amounts, it doesn't seem to struggle with it, so I'm just going to accept them as well. I click on next. You can test the bank statement file format if you like, and this is what it provides, but the thing works anyway, even though it seems to put these in red. I'm going to close this. I'm going to click on next, and it says to me, what do you want to call this? I'm going to give it something sensible, which is I'm going to link this to my fake bank account, CBC. It's not a real bank. It tells me I already had one in there, and which is true, so I'm just going to override it. If this is your first time, you won't see this message. So I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to say CBC manual setup or whatever, and I'm going to give this a name. This can be useful because you can get back to this at a later date through the there's a section called data. Excuse me, sorry, it's called data exchange definitions. If you really want to go and have a look at this after the fact, I'm not going to. I'm just going to look at it here. I click finish, and that is my setup completed. And what we're now going to do is we're actually going to go and process a sales of bank reconciliation. Up here, I've got bank reconciliations as one of my remembered pieces bookmarked. And I actually created one in advance. It really was very simple. All I did was I opened the thing up and gave it a date, and I didn't do anything else. It brings these lines on the right-hand side for me automatically. Nothing on the left because I haven't asked it to suggest anything. I haven't asked it to import anything. If I click on this button now, it will tell me that it didn't reconcile any matches. That's not the place where we're going to process this transaction. I'm going to go back a screen, and I'm now looking at the bank account reconciliations, of which I only have one. You'll notice I have no statement ending balance. I do have a balance last statement because I'd processed one last month. And so here it is. Here's my bank account reconciliation that I want to import the records from my bank to. I click on reconcile with Copilot, and it says, okay, you're doing the bank CBC. That's my fake bank. And it says where you're going to get the transaction data from. So I'm going to click on this. I click on browse, and I'm going to go back and find that same test file that I already had. Just as a small remark, the test file I have was incomplete. It doesn't match every single line in here just for the sake of complexity. But what it tells me is I'm a statement number 10. This is the date. And there we go. I'm going to click on generate, and it goes out, does its thing, thinks about it for a little bit, and comes back and tells me that it matched all the lines from the import. And it looks like it may have a potential issue here. But this is telling me that's what it's doing. So 6 or 7 lines were actually matched. I had a line in there which did not work. Copilot matched one line. I deliberately put a date in there which is incorrect. This is actually dated the 31st. The transaction was dated the 21st. I do know that in advance of this, just to show you that it will bring up entries that it thinks are still valid, but you may have something a little bit off with it. You'll notice that it also put a statement ending balance. You do need to check this. Anyway, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to say, yep, I'm happy with what you did. And it says, I've not posted. Would you like to open it? I'm going to say yes. And you can see in here that I've got my entries. This is the one entry that I didn't have on the import. So it immediately tells me that I've got a transaction posted in my bank, which I didn't, in Business Central, which I didn't have in the bank, and that's fine. There's just an entry which would be outstanding. You'll also notice I commented earlier that one of these was dated the 20th. These are all dated 21st or the 14th. One of these transactions over here is dated the 31st. That's the one that the Copilot artificial intelligence said, even if your dates are wrong, I still believe that it's a valid number, and so therefore I'm going to match it. You'll see, again, as I said earlier, the statement ending balance was put in for me. You need to check this, obviously, related to your bank statement before you go and process. But if all is well, then you should have no difference, and you can go ahead and you can post your reconciliation, and hopefully this will speed up reconciliations for you in the future. Thank you for watching. There are specific detailed entries on this in the HomeBuilder help files. Feel free to contact Suite Engine if you need any more information. Thanks for watching.